So just to get us started, thanks to Jordan for joining us here. So we have Jordan Signorelli. Hopefully I didn't butcher that too bad. He is an ergonomic coach and I guess physical therapist of sorts for tattoo artists. And he's been doing a really great job sort of delivering value around that topic all on social media and just really making his voice be heard around that topic, which is great for extending so many potential for earning. So we're definitely excited to have him here on Launchpad and start sharing that value with us. So yeah, just to get us started, I'll pass it over to Jordan.
Thank you, Forrest. I appreciate you. And thank you for everyone for being here. I just want to acknowledge everyone and say thank you. You know, it's hard to take the step with something new, especially something that we're talking about in the tattoo industry. But, you know, the industry is ready for a change and we're ready. I'm ready to serve, in all honesty. I'm excited to be here. And like I said, I just wanted to acknowledge everybody. And just so everyone knows, I will do a little Q&A at the end. So if anyone has questions, comments, concerns, I want to hear them. But I have that ADHD brain like many of you do. So I ask that you hold your questions to the end just so I can stay on track to serve you the best I can. So just so excited to be here. We're going to talk a little bit about tattooer back pain. Is it the job or is it the chair? I'm going to tell you the answer at the end, and I'm going to give you some information along the way. But before I do, I just want to kind of give you an idea of how I got here. Like, who am I, right? So I'm Jordan. I'm actually an occupational therapist, and I focus on ergonomics and therapy. And I'm demystifying all this stuff that we talk about, carpal tunnel syndrome, tendinitis. I want you to know what you need to know so you can throw everything else out the window. Like many of you, I have a brain that's like 25 open tabs on a desktop. I'm trying to close some of those tabs so I know what I need to know, and you the same, to just have a longer career without pain. Like that's really, at the end of the day, that's the goal. So how I even got into the industry is a funny story because my mom and dad are heavily tattooed. And years ago, I was 11 years old and my mom and dad brought me to a tattoo shop, like a strip mall tattoo shop, as a day date to get tattoos. Their 11-year-old son peeking through the porthole window, watching my dad get like an old traditional eagle on his arm. Crazy story, but fast forward, my dad passed away a few years later, and I found my home in the tattoo shop, you know, partying, whatever else came along with that, like many of you else can relate. But luckily, I was able to find my path, find my journey, and know that I needed to get back on track, and I wanted to serve my friends that were hurting so much in the industry. You know what I'm saying? So what I did was I went back to school. I actually got a bachelor's degree in bioscience, a bachelor's degree in health science, a master's degree in occupational therapy. And that was what gave me the stepping stool to get to where I am today. Fast forward a little bit further from there, in 2018, I actually started Inked Ergonomics, which is, back then, it was like a run around to your door shop, like therapy, treatments, on-hands treatments. And I realized quickly that wasn't serving. It was in the moment, but it wasn't making a lasting impression. So I started linking up with some apprentices, and I realized this like internal limiting belief through an apprentice named John in New York when I was on the come up. And he was an apprentice trying to like figure out the ropes, taking care of himself, taking some of my advice, but getting bullied and hated on from the people in his shop, right? He would buy equipment and they would call him bougie, to the point where he got ridiculed he wasn't taking care of himself, and came back to me a year later with carpal tunnel syndrome. And you know, I knew it wasn't him. I knew there was a bigger issue in the industry. And so I went back to work and I kind of created this new thing, which brings me to what I am today, which is an ergonomic and therapy coaching program to give you the tools, the knowledge to thrive on your own. Because I don't know how you feel about it, but the traditional healthcare system we have right now, it sucks. It doesn't serve tattoo artists. It doesn't serve the people. It serves the insurance industry just to let us get by just enough. And doctors don't understand tattoo artists, let alone bloodborne pathogen issues, what the job even is. I have a client that has comorbidities that was told to lay down while they're tattooing. Can you freaking believe a doctor telling you, why don't you lay down while you're tattooing because your legs are swelling? That shit's not real. So it's just an example of how our traditional healthcare system doesn't understand tattoo artists and how we need to serve ourselves from within. At the end of the day, like, I look at it like this. You're not a robot. Tattoo artists are not robots. We takes our entire body to pull a single line, right? We're not just going to throw out beautiful art like a machine. So our body needs special care. And the way that we start is by knowing what can go wrong and why, so we can heal ourselves and stay out of the business model of healthcare. Damn, that shit's powerful. So what are we going to talk about today? So really, we're going to have a couple objectives. I'm going to give you the empowering truth of who is involved for back pain, but we're going to kind of divide it and make it a little bit more palatable rather than just the whole big scheme. I'm going to make it into like step by step. I'm going to tell you the why behind it, what you can do today to relieve it, the what, and then I'm going to give you 6 tips about buying a new chair that maybe no one ever told you from an ergonomic standpoint. Because when I think of ergonomics, it's more than the chair you're sitting in, it's more than the grip that you have, but it's how we plan our day, the cognitive ergonomics, the physical ergonomics, and then the organizational ergonomics. So there's a lot to play here, more than just what your grip looks like. So let's get into it. Ooh. So why does it even matter? Let's start off with lost wages. Did you know in a recent study, OSHA said that there were over 1.8 million people in the US alone dealing with repetitive strain injuries from work. Tattoo artists don't usually record or report their injuries because, you know, we're kind of still working our way towards legitimacy, but that 1.8 million workers a year has equivalated to about 17 to 20 billion dollars a year. That's a shit ton of money. And for those of you that follow me on social media, I do a presentation at tattoo conventions called How Tattoo Artists Avoid Losing $10 million a year in lost wages. And that shit's conservative, because we are losing money, leaving money on the table, cutting appointment shorts, not taking appointments, not taking walk-ins, all those things that add up over time. So repetitive strain injuries at the end of the day equals lost wages. And for people that don't have insurance and people that usually are dependent on tattooing as a primary income, that's a big deal. So we need to be able to heal ourselves from within, right? This is where we're coming from. This is the whole purpose of what we're talking about today and my mission statement overall. So as we continue, we're going to break it down. We're going to break it down into 2 sections. We're going to break it to the upper back pain, lower back pain. I want it to be realistic. I want it to be relatable, but I also want it to be accessible for people to understand what we're talking about and digest it easily. So that's a great thing. So let's talk about the first thing. The first aspect is this upper back pain. Why is it even happening? So I'm going to tell you the who is 2 specific aspects of the 42-pound head and then the schneck. The schneck is a term that we use in therapy often as a way to describe these muscles that connect the skull, the back of the neck, the scapula, meaning the shoulder blade, these periscapular muscles, which we'll talk more about. And it really is all about gravity and physics. And I see people stretching their necks out because it's like, oh, wait, oh, that's a good reminder, but it's true. So what that really means is when we talk about the 42-pound head, there's a lot of research backed in this model. And what it's really explains is for every inch that you come forward, that adds 10 pounds of pressure to your neck. So your head weighs 12 pounds normally. So for 1 inch together, that adds 10 pounds. For 2 inches, for 3 inches. So most tattoo artists have their head in a 3-inch forward flex position, which gives them a 42-pound head, which gives all of the pressure onto their neck and their upper back. That's one of the reasons we have pain. Ooh. And when we add time and gravity on top of that, those are 2 things we can't take away. Right? Gravity is always there. And as we build up over time, especially over the years, we refer to that as accumulative strain that gives us pain. Unfortunately, that's one of the who's, right? The second is the schneck. So yeah, our head weighs more. That's great. What does that even mean? Well, as our neck starts to get overstretched and we're not compensating for the pain, we have deficits in these three areas. The periscapular muscles, these muscles around the neck that connect to the scapula and the mid back. The superficial muscles like the traps get overstretched and aren't effectively working anymore. And then the deep muscles like our spinal muscles and our rhomboid muscles. And in this picture, you can see I removed actually the top trapezius muscles so you can see the deeper muscles that are really causing the problems. A lot of people that have pain, I'm going to talk about specific pain points, but they're because of poor muscle maintenance or none at all. Just like a musician plays scales to warm up their body before they play, tattoo artists need to do the same thing because it matters. It really does. And like you guys have already seen, some of the resources that have already been distributed through Launchpad, and the people that are trying them out are getting great feedback because it works. This shit is real. So let's talk about a little bit of the why. So risk factors and hazards. In the realm of self-care and repetitive strain injuries, work-related injuries, there really has never been like a foundational component of identifying things, listing out and putting definitions to what we're feeling. So I want to do that for you. One of the first issues that most tattoo artists deal with is what we call a sustained static workload. We're sitting in one position for hours on end, tightening our whole body. The whole arm, the whole hand holding the machine. When it takes your entire body to pull a single line, it's one of the problems. The second problem is this sustained static workload, but static posture. So they're actually two separate things, but they go hand in hand. And then the why that we're talking about, this is actually one of my resources, risk factors and hazards, is the awkward head and body positioning. How are we in space? When I tattoo, I know the world closes out. It's the only time that I can really focus on the task at hand because of my ADHD brain, right? So it's like the last thing I'm thinking about is my posture or what am I doing except the tattoo. So that's where we need our habits and equipment like support to come in play. And believe it or not, I'm sitting here on a new chair. So I have a front support because I believe in products that are going to make your life easier and make your job easier. At the end of the day, that's the goal, to have beautiful art, but you not sacrifice your body for that art. It doesn't have to be that way anymore. So when we talk about things that can't go away, the what, these common factors, we're talking about time. Talking about gravity, like to our point a moment ago, these are things that can't go away or won't go away. So we need to build our routines into our everyday, because when you're tired and you get home, you're not going to exercise. I've talked to like not hundreds, but I've talked to like probably about 100 different artists over the last few years, and every one of them tells me, Jordan, when I get home, the last thing I want to do is stretch. Shit's true. And I'm a realist because it's not going to happen. So if it doesn't happen, how do we make it realistic? It's incorporating it into our day for these unsupported postures, because what we start to deal with is core weakness, forward head posture, rounded shoulders, bent trunk. These are going to build up over time. And you might be resilient and in the first few years of tattooing, or you might be 15, 20 years into tattooing and say, shit, I know what he's talking about. I'm feeling some of this stuff because it's real. It's not like I'm making it up. I'm here because of a need in the industry. The only problem is that most people don't talk about this, right? So it's not usually a topic of conversation validating each other's pain. So if you're not getting validated in your pain, you're not going to talk about your pain, and then nobody gets help, because we're in this limbo of pretending that everybody's okay because of this like tough guy act or this persona of I don't need help. But luckily, That's ending, and that is on its way out. So I couldn't be more excited about that shit. So more of the what's is this awkward head posture, this poor habits, lifestyle, right? That's really what it comes down to. What is the new routine or lifestyle? And I'm actually getting ready to drop one of my first digital products, which is going to be redefining your routine to try to make what I'm talking about mainstream, to get it into as many hands as possible. So it's something really cool and I'm really excited about, in addition to like the coaching programs that I have, but we'll talk about that. So now let's talk about actually some of the pain points. So when we talk about upper back pain, I wanted to kind of list out some identifiers of, yeah, I am dealing with this, or maybe there's something here that's not being identified. And if you're dealing with something new, I want to hear about it because I'm an empty cup. I love to hear from everybody so I can learn and be better. Like, I'm in my own tattoo apprenticeship, believe it or not. I've been in the industry for 5 years and then I realized I want to level up. I want to be the best therapist that I could be. So I started my own tattoo apprenticeship so I could serve tattooers from tattooers and be from the inside so we can help serve as best we can, because that's really what we're here for, is to serve. So when we're talking about pain points, I always talk about the neck. It's really the base of the neck when we're talking about back pain. The upper trap, especially like in the number 2, it's that superior angle of the scapula. That's why I wear this awesome shirt all the time, because I can tell you where you're hurting. And this is it. The top point of the scapula. This shirt is practical, not just fashionable. All right, guys, let's first throw it out there. But it's true. It just makes it more realistic. We're visual people. I'm visual. I know most tattoo artists are visual as well. So when we're talking about the mid-back, number 3, that's that rhomboid, that medial border of the scapula, the spine right there. That's where we have a lot of pain because of no maintenance, right? The sustained static workloads that we need to stretch our bodies out. And I'm going to tell you a secret. All of the research that I get and I build my programs from, it's backed in thousands of dollars of research from the dental industry. Let that soak in for a second. The dental industry in 2017, there was a study that correlated the sub skills, what we call them performance skills, to do this job of dental work and to do the job of tattooing are actually the same. The difference is you get red tattoos on one and clean teeth in the other. But the sub skills are the same. I mean, we already steal a bunch of their equipment. We were using their chairs very early on. We use their barriers. We use their trays. We use a lot of their equipment. So why don't we take their research, right? Take their research, reapply it to our industry so that we don't have to do the work ourselves. We already have the research that correlates the industry and then the research. So come on. Come on, to quote my brother, Matt Clemmer, come on, that shit's powerful. God. Okay, and then the last 2 on this list, the lower trap muscles, which are where we get a lot of our lower back pain, mid-back pain, I should say, not lower, mid-back. And then our lats. Our lats are where we really get a lot of our pain under the shoulder blade, and that's like that inferior angle of the scapula. So everything matters. And when we have our upper back pain is actually commonly correlated with shoulder pain. So if you have either, holler at me and let me serve you, because there's a lot we can do. So that's like the high level overview we just talked about. Going a little quick, a lot of content, want to make sure everyone's understanding. What this turns into, poor posture. The real biggie here that we need to take away is something that we call upper cross syndrome. Over time, we start to develop more imbalances in our muscles and something that we call the kinetic chain. This is really the basis of our foundation of our muscles that starts on our spine and works our way out to our fingertips. So unfortunately, many people who say, oh, I have like tingling, numbness, or burning in my fingertips, typically that's being misdiagnosed as carpal tunnel syndrome, but the issue comes more proximally from the neck. And I always talk about this because I want it to become common knowledge. Like 30 years ago, when people started working on computers and started to get carpal tunnel syndrome and people thought it was fake and didn't really understand what that was, now it's common knowledge and we know it's not fake. I want to do the same thing for something that we call thoracic outlet syndrome. What is thoracic outlet syndrome? Well, it's essentially muscle imbalances. Oh, from our head forward neck posture, these muscles get out of alignment from our scalene triangle, from the front portion of our pec muscle, and they get trapped. And under the first rib, they get trapped. And that impingement, that trapping of the nerve, gives us peripheral nerve issues, or tingling, numbness, and burning in our hands and fingers. So they typically gets misdiagnosed for carpal tunnel syndrome, but the real issue is at the neck. And I'm not talking about, oh, we need good posture. It's more than that. We need routines that are going to serve us with purposeful, targeted counter stretching, dynamic stretching. And we could talk more. I'm going to give you some resources at the end. But really, it's a imbalance that starts at the neck, tingling, numbness, burning in the hand. Typically the ulnar nerve distribution, because what we're talking about is, now this is higher level stuff, but basically brachial plexus is the name of the nerves that come out of the neck at the spine and then serve your entire arm with motor and nerve function. Now, when that gets impinged at the neck, it just goes downstream and affects everything else. It affects your strength, it affects your pain, it affects your coordination, your sensation. And I have people that I work with right now that can't squeeze a spray bottle, can barely hold a tattoo machine. And I'm going to show you a gentleman that I just did an interview with recently who had to take 6 months off of work because of thoracic outlet syndrome. Luckily, he had the finances to back him, but it truly is the kiss of death for tattoo artists if you're not taking the proper precautions. And it's scary. And there's no way to know if you're going to get it. That's the scary part. Some people are predetermined to issues like this, and some people aren't. But there's no way to know unless it happens, which is more of a reason for everyone to take the proper precautions from the beginning. So it's like many people in the tattoo industry aren't served with the knowledge at the beginning of what can go wrong. So that's one of the reasons I'm offering this and serving the community with it. Come on. Ooh. Okay, so tattooer health matters. It does. It matters more than ever. More people are getting on the scene than there ever has been in the world, in the history of tattooing. Gen Zers are here and we're on the come up. But because of that, we need this knowledge. We need to serve at the beginning our apprentices to know what can go wrong, like every other legitimate industry in the world that gives you the foundation, the guidelines. This is what you're going to do. This is what can go wrong. This is how to avoid it. That's what I'm here for. That's what I want to serve the industry, serve the world. I mean, like, if my dreams aren't big enough, they don't scare me. My dream is to serve the tattoo industry globally. So come on, right? Let's talk about lower back pain now. This is where most of us fall, unfortunately. So I'm going to talk about 2 different perspectives of lower back pain, okay? So there's one with lower cross syndrome, which is kind of like the counterpart of the upper cross syndrome we spoke briefly about. And then the rounded trunk posture with no lumbar support, which gives you like this posterior pelvic tilt. So I have anterior and posterior pelvic tilt. What the hell does that even mean? Okay, well, I'm going to tell you. I have images for you to make it make more sense. But essentially, whether your pelvis is tilted forward or your pelvis is tilted backwards. So anterior is forward, posterior is backwards. For the sake of this conversation, that's all that means. To different positions, put your body in different, affect your kinetic chain, the muscles differently. So the what? Let's talk about lower cross syndrome first, the anterior pelvic tilt. So there are a couple muscles at play here that are effectively tilting your pelvis forward because of muscle imbalances. So the muscle imbalances that occur can happen from work, from the chair that you're sitting in, from the static positioning that you're in, and also lifestyle. So what you're doing in your everyday life, how you live. So I can't tell you everything that can go wrong because everybody is so different, but I can give you the fundamentals of what you're feeling. So when we talk about erector spine, spinal muscles, let's make it easy. Those center muscles in the center of our spine, when they get imbalanced, they start to get short. They start to get tight. They start to pull the pelvis into an anterior position because of how they connect. the iliopsoas muscle, number 2 on this list, is this weird muscle that actually connects the spine to the pelvis. So you can see it in this picture on the bottom. It lines the front of the pelvis. So when it gets really tight, it's pulling that pelvis forward, which is more out of alignment. And there are a lot of people that might have problems with this. If you feel like you're walking and your hip clicks, like there's a weird clicking in your hip, that's the iliopsoas muscle that you need to flex, stretch out the hip flexors. So it's crazy because I know a lot of people that are like, oh, my hip my hip clicks, but I don't know why. This is why. So it's crazy to see, like, these things are real. I'm putting it to practice. I'm going to show you even more. But the next position here is the glute muscles and the core muscles. These muscles just become weak. And because they can't become so weak, they can't hold the stability of your body over time because, yeah, you're sitting, but you know what else you're doing while you're sitting? Your muscles are weakening. So that's why we need to have regular maintenance to keep our bodies a fine-tuned machine, or I should say bulletproof your body, however you want to phrase it, like today's terminology, so you don't get hurt. So it's like planning ahead so that we don't have issues to begin with. So weak abdominal muscles, overstretch, weak glute muscles, which help give us our base of support to begin with. So you don't have a good foundation, the building's going to fall over. That's really what we're talking about. So on the flip side, this posterior pelvic tilt, I didn't really talk about it that much a second ago because I wanted to show you these pictures because like all of us, like myself, I'm visual and I know you are too. So this is what we're talking about. Our lumbar spine has like a specific curve to it. And when you don't maintain that curve on the bottom portion of our spine, things start to, let's say, go wrong at the spine, okay, for lack of a better word. On the bottom here, so you can see on this picture where on the top, it's the two people sitting with the pelvic tilts. The green check mark is obviously the one that we want, it's that lumbar spine with the anterior pelvic tilt. Now, a second ago, I said, oh, it's too much of an anterior pelvic tilt is bad, but too much of it is bad. On the regular, we'd rather an anterior pelvic tilt than a posterior pelvic tilt because it supports your lumbar spine, which is the foundation that supports your upper body posture. And I'm going to talk more about it in a second, but that's essentially what we're talking about, right? Maintaining this lower lumbar spinal position so you can tattoo for longer without pain. And the why is the sitting. We're sleeping in the morning, we wake up, we're sitting at the breakfast table, we're sitting on the toilet, we're sitting on our drive to work, we're sitting at work, we're sitting while we're drawing, we're sitting while we're tattooing, we're sitting on our way home from work, we're sitting on our couch watching TV at night. All that fucking sitting adds up, man. It really does. And if we think about it like that, add the time, add the days of the week, the months of the year, it's a big deal. So in addition to that frequent sitting, we don't have pre-planned movement breaks to address this cumulative strain. We're having these kinetic chain breakdowns where nobody's serving themselves. And if they are serving themselves, they're doing maybe a routine that's not really benefiting them when they could be doing something in the shop that could be serving their career more effectively, right? You only have one tattoo career. You might as well make it a good one. So what are we going to do? Well, today I'm going to give you examples of what we can do in real time. So we need to address the seat. That's one thing. Absolutely, we need to address what you're sitting in. And it's great for mentors to want to buy equipment for their apprentices, but if we don't have a baseline of like things to look for, we're just buying whatever. So I know somebody that just got a great gift from their mentor. It was it was a chair, but it wouldn't have been a chair that I would have recommended. And when I saw it, I didn't say anything because I had nothing nice to say. But that needs to be addressed. So let's address it. Seat depth. Did you know there are some foundationals that we can talk about? Seat depth. How deep should your seat even be? Well, talking about baseline ergonomics taken from the dental industry, we can use a quick rule of thumb. Having 15 to 18 inches of seat depth is a general standard. So when you're looking on a Tattoo Soul's website to go buy a chair, they give you the dimensions. So that might say, okay, great, 15 to 18 inches, but how do I know if that works for me? A quick rule of thumb is to actually take your fingers and to put them between the back of your knee and your seat. So if everybody can do that for a second, I want you to test yourself. So try it with me. Take your fingers and wherever you're sitting, your back against the chair, put your fingers behind your knee. Is your back of your knee directly against the base of the chair, or are there 2, 3, 4-inch seat depth? What you got, friend? Nina's on a couch and she's all the way back. She's sitting like a little kid on that couch with her legs straight out. But like, this is the kind of stuff that we got to talk about. Bring this conversation to the table. Why not? There's no mystery here. So that's the first foundational component. How deep is your seat? Then lumbar support. What the hell is even lumbar support? What is that shit? Nobody knows. But let me tell you, most people have no lumbar support, unfortunately, like a stool, or they're sitting in like a folding chair, some shit like that. The reason we have lumbar support is essentially this. Lumbar support puts our pelvis in an anterior pelvic tilt. It supports our lower back. So try this shit for me real quick. So I want you to sit up with good posture, push your lower back forward. Now you have your lower back forward, try to roll your shoulders. Roll down. Yeah, you can't, right? Now relax your lower back and roll down. That's why you have lumbar support. Interesting, right? Yeah. So put it to practical use. That's why. So when you support your lumbar spine, you support your upper trunk, your shoulders go back, your chest comes forward. Ha-ha, there we go. That's some of the posture that we need to correct. The other end of that spectrum, though, is the neck. So we need to keep the head back, chin up. So I talk about this thing often called the client-artist height offset. You want to imagine yourself as you're painting at an easel. It's not easy. It's quite challenging and it takes work. But I actually have somebody that I want to show you who's pretty much mastered it, thankfully. Unfortunately, through an injury, he had to figure it out. And that's what we want to make common knowledge, that you don't have to figure it out on your own. So what are your options? I'm going to give you 3 options right now for chairs. One I'm sitting in, which I love to recommend, is the new chair. A lot of people have some mixed reviews about it, and I feel that it's because they haven't used it, number 1, or they haven't used it for number 2. It's an anterior pelvic tilt, but like our female friends, not always accommodating as much for them. So there are limitations to it. I actually knew a chick that actually said, I just spread the girls and lay down. And I said, whatever works for you, right? That's one thing. I love the new chair. I actually have a $50 off code for anyone that wants to purchase it. Tattoo Therapy will get you $50 off that new chair. Another piece of equipment that I really like, which is kind of from the dental industry, well, not kind of, it's a dental hygienist's assistance chair. This is something that really has been in the industry, dental industry, for decades, and it has a built-in arm support. It's got foot support, lumbar support, saddle chair support, foot support. It's got it all, and I wonder why, because ergonomists designed it for the dental industry. So it's another thing we can steal. I actually recommended it, and you can get them like really cheap off of resale sites. So you don't have to buy a brand new $1,000 one. You can get one for like $300 off like dental equipment resale sites. So it's a really cool resource. So just something to throw out there. And they're always in good quality because they don't use them. I actually know someone in the dental industry who had to go to teach because she got thoracic outlet syndrome. And then couldn't be a dental hygienist anymore. And I showed her that chair, this dental hygienist chair, and she's like, I didn't even know about that. And I was a dental hygienist. Right? Shit. And then the third one I want to bring up is a gentleman in the tattoo industry that I have a lot of respect for. His social media handle is Wentz Welding, and he's actually building some killer equipment. Someone in my masterclass, New York, is actually a huge proponent of this equipment. They are very open talking about their comorbidities that affects tattooing. So they have lymphedema. And this equipment, for many of you don't know, lymphedema is a blood circulation issue, not to get into that, but this equipment has served her so well because it's heavy duty, it's built so well, and it's built from within the tattoo industry, because there's so many people trying to steal or bastardize the industry. Like, I'm not a tattoo artist, but I'm going to make their equipment. I'm not a tattoo artist, but I'm going to make ink, or I'm going to throw on an event, and really not understand what the fundamentals are, so that nothing gets carried over. It's just aesthetics, unfortunately. So I just wanted to throw Wentz Welding in there, because, like, I don't know him personally, I don't have a connection with him, but, like, I dig what he's doing. So, you know, this is a little gift slash feedback slide. This is a slide that it's why things go wrong. I'm really trying to build a foundation of resources, and this is something I'm working on. It's not something that's ironed out, so if anybody uses this, I would love to hear your feedback. Ooh. So essentially, it's a standing and sitting height calculator. So depending on how tall you are, tells you how high your client should be, and then how high your client should be on the table, and then how high the client should be while you're standing. So sitting desk, standing desk, these is a work in progress. So this by no means is like down to a T. So I'd love to hear your feedback for anybody that gives it a shot. Ooh, I think this will be a really powerful resource for a lot of up and coming artists, because it will give them a baseline of how tall do I need my equipment to be? Number one, am I buying a massage table just to get a massage table, or am I investing in myself to have the right information and equipment to thrive for the long term? So I'm going to continue to give these baseline resources that I need you guys to serve your apprentices with, so we can grow from within. Get rid of this gatekeeping and share information. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share it regardless and scream it from the rooftops, whether anybody wants to hear it or not. So here are 6 tips for what to look for buying a new chair. Okay. This is something that is directly taken out of my masterclass, Ergonomic and Therapy Secrets for Tattoo Artists. I want to make this shit common knowledge. Despite serving the people that take my program, I gotta pay it forward to all of you as well. So I plan to over deliver and overserve here and in my program. So it's just getting better and better. So I always think about things have to be easy, because if they're not easy, we're not gonna do it. Flat out. Just the way it is. We're too busy in our heads with 25 open desktop tabs trying to figure out what the hell we're doing. We're not going to sit there and try to figure out how to adjust our table or our chairs when we have a client waiting to get a stencil slapped on them, right? So we need to know it beforehand. So putting some time into this cognitive ergonomics. So we also got to think about, what does our chair serve us? What is it doing? What are the features? Does it have a pelvic tilt? Does it have an anterior front support? How is our equipment serving us and not serving the equipment, right? Not working around the equipment. We need to, if we're going to buy something that's going to be expensive, we have to know how to use it effectively. We also talk about the seat itself. A lot of these seats, the cushion itself is garbage. We have these like foam cushions on like a little piece of wood, but what happens over time is that cushion fails. If the base isn't a sturdy base to support the cushion fails, and then it actually is much more challenging to maintain a sturdy basis of support than if you were to have like a frame that is contoured, and then the cushion lines that contoured frame. Then we talk about lumbar support. We've already addressed that. Talk about seat height. Well, a foundation of how tall your elevation and depression of your seat should be, that shit matters. So I usually use a frame of reference about 20 to 30 inches of elevation and depression is a good range depending on how tall you are. Obviously, the taller you are, the higher you need in that spectrum to accommodate your pelvic alignment. And then the seat depth, we've already kind of talked about that one. So it's like these foundational baselines are what's going to change the industry for the better. So now, can I give you your answer? Is it the chair or is it the job? It's both, right? You probably knew that was coming. It's both. In all honesty, it really is. So it's like one of those things. Everything that I'm going to tell you now, ooh, you get to keep it forever. And not only do you keep this shit forever, you can watch it again because this is recorded. So when you got an apprentice, you say, hey, ooh, you're going to have back pain? Check this video out. That's what these resources are for. That's where you're a community member of Launchpad, this amazing community that's growing and thriving and going to help elevate the industry to the next level. And that's why I'm so honored to be here, because I see the potential and I know that it's been here. I'm just happy to finally be here to chat with you. So let's talk about like a little bit what you can actually do today. This is my boy, Sam. I told you a second ago, I did an interview with someone who had to take 6 months off of work. This is him. Unfortunately, he had to learn the hard way. Tattooing for about 20 years, he saw the red flags along the way, but he didn't stop to get his oil checked. He didn't stop to do his maintenance. He said, there were things happening, I just blew them off. And I don't know if you can read his shirt, but it says, I miss the days when I didn't know what self-care was. It's just powerful, right? And it's when we're young and we're resilient, that shit doesn't matter. Or we think it doesn't matter. And it's only as the years go by that we realize things start to go wrong, things start to fail, and the resources weren't there. The help wasn't there. The doctors that you thought you were going to get served from didn't understand what you were even talking about. That's scary. Right? How do you go to a doctor for help and they don't know how to serve you? That shit's real scary. So I want to be the one to serve you so you don't ever have to go through what Sam went through. It doesn't have to happen. It doesn't need to happen. And I want it to stop happening. So misinformed people giving misinformed information, it's over because now I'm here. So I'm happy to serve. Hell yeah. So what are you going to do today? After we leave here, we're going to talk about how are you going to build a routine before, during, and after your tattooing in the shop that's realistic and practical, that you're not going to go home and sit on the couch and just draw all night for your next appointment. We're going to leave yesterday's strain for yesterday and take care of today's masterpiece today. So, ooh, I love that shit because it's so true. And then we're talking about dynamic counter stretching, literally stretching the opposite directions of your sitting all day long. Bulletproofing your body, meaning you're strengthening these core muscles, the glute muscles, all of the muscles, right? Managing the imbalances that occur, the periscapular stuff that we talked about. And then what I always like to say is 3 steps for stopping your pain, 3-step formula, which I've created in a couple different ways. So having a 3-step formula for stopping pain when it happens. Oh, yeah. So if you want to learn more about what we're talking about and what I'm serving in the industry, I have 3 ways that you could do that. You can follow me on social media, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. I'm on them all, and my handle is the same, the Tattoo Hand Therapist. I've actually started my own private group. Well, I have a private group and an open group. It's called the Tattooer Health Club. Kind of spinning on that 80s vibe a little bit, but I really want people to have a community of individuals that are like-minded and wanting to get help or be validated for their pain. And let's be real, social media, we're renting space, right? So if my account gets hacked or if something happens, I lose everybody. So I want to be able to stay in contact with you. Hence the Tattooer Health Club. I'll be real. That's really one of the reasons, because like we all rent space on social media. Let's be real. And then the Tattooer Health Club is actually a mailing list as well as a Facebook group where I send out resources, information, discount codes, updates of events and seminars and workshops that I have going. So both of them are really useful, and I love to just let you know about them. The Tattooer Health Club mailing list is super easy to get onto. All you got to do is any link that I have on any of my platforms, click the link and it'll bring you right there. And you can see the image. It looks just like that. And this is a little bit of a gift that I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of. If you don't know where to start and you don't know what to do, boom, here it is. This is it. This is one of the first places to get started if you just don't know what to do. And I want to make it realistic, relatable, and attainable. So if you don't have one of these, hit me up on social media. I give them away all the time. If you want one that you can actually print or hang, I have high quality versions that I sell on my website. Basically laminated exercise guides that come with hooks that you can hang, because out of sight, out of mind is a real thing. And we want to avoid that, right? We're so busy about the tattoo at hand. Like I said before, when I tattoo and when I'm drawing, I shut the world out and nothing else matters. So when I'm so hyper focused, like that ADHD brain that I have, having something when I come up for air like this in my face helps, and it helps me, and I've had good feedback. So I just wanted to make sure that we are aware and you have this at your fingertips. And then what am I serving in the community? I just wanted to let you know ergonomic and therapy secrets for tattoo artists. Really, tattooers getting the knowledge and equipment they need to thrive is my group program. So I've recently I was doing a one-on-one masterclass with people, and then actually next week I'm launching my first ever group masterclass after I just graduated from TBM last night. Ooh, some snaps on that one. And like, actually, Matt helped give me the confidence and motivation to push even harder. And I have actually only one spot left for my group masterclass. And I couldn't be more excited to have that and be here and be happy where my feet are to serve you guys. So, like I said, I'm here. I want to serve, and I can't wait to see how good this year can be serving the tattoo industry. So if you have any comments, questions, concerns, this is the time I'm going to open the floor for you guys. And you can always contact me through my website, through social media, and through my website, even have consultation links. So you can get me there if you want to set up an appointment and learn more about the masterclass or any pain points you have, because I do offer free consultations.
Awesome work, Jordan. That was a great presentation. Definitely very knowledgeable. Yeah, great delivered. So yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time and doing all of that. Yeah, like you said, if anyone has any questions, they can feel free to either drop it in the chat, or they can come off mute and sort of.
I'm going to jump in here for us. Hey, Jordan, can we turn the screen share off so we can see our faces bigger?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah, you've been a tiny little icon on my screen for the last hour or so. It's good to see you. A great presentation, well, Jordan. Thanks you. I love your mission. You know, your energy. All of this is really, really refreshing to see. So I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're serving tattoo artists and studio owners in the way that you are, and just want to, acknowledge you for that. I think that this is an exciting time in tattooing. We're seeing the emergence of thought leadership and coaching, and people are really starting to find their niche and find their voice in how they're going to communicate with tattooing. And you're a great example of that I will continue to point people to as an inspiration. So yeah, great job. I have a question for you. While I was watching your presentation, I was thinking about the pain that I've experienced, that I really it was a piece of why I stopped tattooing as much as I do, because it got to a place where it was not sustainable. Like, I wasn't going to be able to reach my goals to do 20 bodysuits if I couldn't figure out how to get this pain to go away, because it was sucking the life out of me every day. And you're absolutely right. It's not a lesson that you learn at the right time in your career. It's a lesson that you learn in a way when it's too late. There are a number of things that you pointed out, your stretches, that I've now learned to do after spending in PT and therapy, and going down the chiropractic road first, finally finding my way to a legit physical therapist. Went through all kinds of treatment for about 2 years with her, and then she introduced me to her husband, who does physical training. I've been working with him now for 4 years. So this stuff is not new to me now, but in a way it kind of came too late. But one of the things that I've been thinking about is how to create a station inside of my studio ink and dagger for myself and for artists to use during the session. And I thought about, including something like a TRX, which is, for people, you probably know what it is, but it would have like a hook on the wall or the ceiling, and there's a strap that's adjustable, which you can use for like, rows and push-ups and things without touching the floor. Because mainly what the problem I have when I saw your suggested stretches those are great for at home, but I can't imagine just laying down on the tattoo shop floor and stretching out. So do you have any solutions for the sort of like, stretches or exercises that we can do at the tattoo shop, in mid session? Maybe you could just run through a few ideas on that. I'm sure it's part of your program, but
yeah. So
look us up.
versatility is the name of the game, right? So when I talk about redefining the routine, I talk about how do we incorporate this stuff into our everyday. So I couldn't agree more with you, Russ. So I want to just say thank you for having me, and thank you for acknowledging what I'm doing, because it's so powerful. Are you still in Georgia?
Yeah.
Because I'm moving to Atlanta in about a year, so
No way.
I might be able to
All
do
right.
something more in person with you.
Yeah,
But
we should talk.
yeah, hell yeah. So essentially the way it works is this. I think the most practical application for specific stretching is the time that we do it. So I feel that, yes, getting on the tattoo floor is not an option in a bloodborne pathogen scenario. Not a thing, no. But using your equipment, so like your massage table that you're going to tattoo somebody on, before you get that person in the shop, part of my redefining your routine is to address some of the laying down fine bridges, so to speak, hamstring stretches before your client gets there, to address those so you have a surface to lay on. And then after that, it comes down to modification. So like there are a lot of stretches that we can do either sitting or standing that are literally the same exercises that are just modified. So I really think that it comes down to understanding this thing that we call upgrading and downgrading your exercise. A lot of people are like, oh, it hurts, so I'm not going to do. But that's where you don't get help, right? Russ, to your experience, you're hurting, you have to do something. So it's a matter of modifying it. Are we going to reduce the intensity? Are we going to reduce the reps? Are we going to change the position? So I think to answer your point is a matter of versatility of the right exercises when. So for example, rather than doing a laying down hamstring stretch with a stretching strap or a towel, you sit on your chair and you do your forward down reach, for example, right? So you're sitting, you're not even touching your foot, you're touching your leg, there's no bloodborne pathogen issue. So if we're talking about in this scope of back pain, for example, right? And then those are the hip extensors. So then what do we do for the hip flexors, the front of the legs, the quad muscles? Well, you can do a standing quad stretch. I show people frequently how to do it laying down because it's more effective, but you could do it standing up. And then even using some of our equipment like the XXL armrests, we could use those as like our anchor points to do cat-cows, to do stretching. So using the equipment that already exists in our shop is the most versatile answer, I think, to your question. But it also comes down to the thought process behind. How are you planning? How are you organizing? And how are you setting up your physical environment to set you up for success? Because unfortunately, it's not a one-word answer because so many people are so different. I think it comes down to challenge. I'll take a quote from our buddy Matt Clemmer. The quality of our life depends on the quality of the questions that we ask ourselves and the communication with the people around us. So how do we ask ourselves better questions and then communicate with our clients to effectively be the professional and the authority in this situation to run the session to serve you as the artist and the client?
Good deal. One thing that has really helped me, and excuse me, one thing that's really helped me correct my posture was when I got some dental loops, which, that was like a $2,000 purchase, but I have loops that magnify everything 2.5 times. So when I wear them, they were measured to give me the correct, upright posture. I can't get too close to the tattoo because everything goes blurry. So I have this like 4-inch deep sort of area where I can see everything 2.5 times larger. So when I'm wearing them, it really is, keeping me upright with what I feel like is a more correct posture. And that's been a big help. I look
love
totally
that.
stupid wearing them. So it's really, that's really what fights, what makes me fight against them. But I do think that they're, and also they let me just sort of like tweak out on the details a little more, than I probably should as a tattooer. So, but I think it's worth exploring, for the next level, like the people who are really ready to spend some real money. I think that that's an option worth looking at for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And to your point, Russ, they actually sell them on Amazon as well. They're not as high quality, but I actually recommend ones that have built-in LED lights and interchangeable lenses. So it's like a 1, a 3, and a 5, I think. And they're like not as good as your loops by any
I tried to save money, man. I bought like several different things before I went and committed to getting these professional quality loops, but it just the part of the problem was they were too heavy, right? And put so much strain on my face that they caused a headache. So it's I guess there's always a drawback, but yeah, let's see. I've been adjusting my chair throughout this conversation. I'm thinking about this 3 to 4 inches from the back of the knee to the seat. I don't think that's possible in my really comfortable, expensive Herman Miller Aeron office chair. But I was thinking about if I could get one of those chairs you recommended for the tattoo shop. My fear is that anytime I sit on something that looks like what you showed on your picture, my butt really, really starts to hurt within, probably 30 minutes or an hour. It's really, really uncomfortable. And it's probably due to, the pelvic tilt that I have adapted to or whatever the case is. But yeah, have you had any clients that you were able to kind of coach through that adaptation period? Any advice?
I'm so happy that you mentioned that, Russ. Oh, so absolutely. To your point, one of the reasons that when we sit in adaptive equipment and it's uncomfortable is because our bodies are not accommodated to sit in that chair. It's to your point. It's not only it's like the posture that you're used to, but it's your muscles are fatigued quickly. So your muscles just get tired. So for the first half hour, 20 minutes, half hour, you're fine. But because you're forced into this optimal posture, your muscles can't tolerate it, and that's why it hurts. So strengthening is the answer. So we're talking about you're going to a strength trainer. What are the first red flag? Well, you're sitting and your butt hurts. That means your glutes are strong enough because your glutes are as part of the foundation that's holding up your trunk. So if you have weak glute muscles or excessively tight glute muscles, that's something that you would want to address. And funny enough, the correlation between the pain between stretching and strengthening and the pain, as you stretch and strengthen, the pain will reduce. And it's one of those things, the more you use it, the more you become used to it. So the underlying issue is weakness. The solution is strengthening and stretching. It's like a combination, hand in hand. And like in the therapy community, they call it bulletproofing. And I don't really like that term, but like everybody's using it and it's become this like common verbiage. So here we are using it, but that's really, yeah. So I've actually absolutely seen that. So the first thing I say is what hurts? That's what you need to address first. Stretch it out, make sure it's not too tight. Because if you're stretching and it's like, ooh, I don't even feel anything. It's not that. It's not that it's tight, it's that it's weak. So then we start strengthening, and what do? Supine bridges. So laying down and throwing that pelvis in the air. That's one of the best ways actually to do it, is to strengthen the core muscles and the glute muscles.
Got it.
So that's you specifically, Russ. I got you.
Yeah. Right now it's lower back pain that is the worst right now. And they've got me doing supine bridges. They've got me doing the one where you're laying on your back and your knees are going over to the side, but your shoulders stay flat.
Windshield wipers. Yep. That's on the sheet.
And then the other one that I'm doing is, I think I'm just like laying on my back and I'm bringing my knees up to my chest and then pushing my feet back out in front of me just to try like strengthen the abs. But
yeah. Russ, try these exercises on this sheet, man.
I will.
Did you see them?
Yeah.
Try those. I'd be really curious to see what you say. In all honesty, because like you're strengthening the core, but are you addressing your quads or you're addressing your hamstrings?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got the instructions from my trainer and my PT. It's whether or not I'm actually doing it in the morning and the evening like I was told to. So I haven't really given their instructions a chance,
Ah,
you know, but
they can't do your push-ups for you.
exactly.
Oh, hells yeah. Oh, I'm so happy to be here though, friends. Oh, thank you so much. It's really an honor to be part of the rest of your lives, because that's really what this turns out to be. It really is an evolution into mastery, right? Because like TBM always says, mastery is not an arrival point, it's the journey and keeping that learner's mindset. So I always try to make sure that I have an empty cup so I can learn from anybody that I interact with. So I look forward to moving to Georgia and coming through, Russ. We'll make something happen, friend.
Right on. Yeah, good to meet you. Thanks for coming and doing this presentation for Launchpad, and best of luck on your new program.
Thank you so much. I hope to
All right.
be here again. I got a lot more topics for you guys.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back.
Awesome sauce. I appreciate you guys. And thank you, Forrest, for being in like such frequent and amazing communication through this whole process. Russ, he is awesome and he's killing it. And he like was on top of things and really helping me to figure out what this whole presentation was going to look like. So Forrest, I just want to acknowledge you and say thank you for all of the work that you do behind the scenes, because it's a lot and I don't think a lot of people see it. So appreciate you.
Yeah, good job, Forrest.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm definitely excited to have you back, Jordan. You crushed this one. So yeah, I'm just hungry for more now.
Ooh, don't get me started. I got a lot of stuff.
Awesome. Let's see. Brittany said, thanks, Jordan. Gonna go stretch before my next meeting. Yeah, you have to see so many adjustments during these things. The whole time I was just like adjusting my posture.
Yeah, heck yeah. And it's just like common knowledge, bring it to the conversation, right? We just have to bring this knowledge to the forefront. And the more we do it, the more it's going to just catch like wildfire.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I love seeing your posts. So yeah, I'm excited to see more of what you do. So thanks again.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
up,
Yes,
Dave?
sir.
Sorry, Dave, did you have something there?
Yeah, actually. What are your thoughts on like the split cushion chair, like for a drummer or somebody?
I'm not very familiar with them, to be honest. If I don't know
Okay.
something, I'm going to tell you right away, and I'm not familiar. So if you give me literally half a second, you said it's called a drummer's chair?
It's basically hollowed out in the center. So it's like two cushions, one for each cheek.
You know, I'm not super familiar, but it sounds like if it's got two seats and it's for each butt cheek, essentially, a cushion per cheek, it sounds like it is going to be like offsetting or eliminating like the tailbone pressure. That's kind of what it sounds like to me. I'd like to see it before I can like say, yeah, that's good, or no, that's bad. Like, honestly, I can't really say, but if you'd send me a picture, like social media style, like just a DM.
Yeah, I could do that. I was talking
with
one of my clients. He's a, professional drummer or whatever. He sits all day long. So I thought they were relatable.
The problem is with that is that you work off axis, right? The drummer is sitting here in one position, but you are leaning and bending and twisting and moving. So when we talk about support, especially lumbar support, does that offer lumbar support or any of the features that we were discussing earlier?
I'm sure there's like a bunch of different shapes or whatever. I mean, I'm working off a cheap stool, but I get up, I stand up, I got a massage table probably 90% of the time I'm tattooing.
Mm-hmm.
I bring it up as high as it can go, but I'm probably pretty sure I should bring it up higher.
Yeah. And it's the investment in our equipment is what's going to make the lasting impact on our careers. If you're sitting all day for the predominant career, it's in my eyes worth the investment. If a new chair is $650, right? It's about $650, right? I have a $50 off code for you. So you're going to spend $600. That for most people you pay that in a day, right? You're talking about like tattoo sole like Oros chair, like the foot pedal or the hydraulic lift. I mean, yeah, we're talking about $2,000, but you're talking about something that's an investment in you as the artist to not have pain, to lengthen your career, improve your quality of life while you're in the shop, while you're at home with family. It really comes down to that self-investment. And I feel like that investment isn't stressed early in our careers to make us as like thrive, to make us, give us the best quality art, give us the best quality of life, right?
Right.
So I feel like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
where it really comes into play. So I'm a big proponent of investing in the right equipment the first time, because like, God damn, I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people that have bought stools. In a year, they bought another stool. In a year, they bought a better stool, and you bought 3 stools in 3 years, and you spent $800. Then what's the point? Or like over
Right.
$1,000 in equipment that sucks. It's like if you buy the right thing the first time, it lasts. It lasts.
Right. Yeah, I'll definitely browse the used dental equipment.
Yeah. Just Google a dental hygienist assistant chair. Just type resale dental equipment, and then after you find a link, just type in that dental hygienist assistance chair, and you're going to find a bunch of different ones. So it's crazy because like in the dental industry, this is a well-known, and it's taught early on, but it's like, you get into the field and you forget about it. So these dentists buy this equipment, nobody uses it, or the practice closes down, and then they just sell it to these like secondhand stores. So it's like, they're always like, I have seen them in immaculate condition, like barely ever used, because people are just like, it's not stressed in the dental industry, like it's not stressed in the tattoo industry. So it's like,
Right.
This equipment is readily available, to say the least.
Is that armrest looking thing, like, is that for you to lean on?
Yeah, that's for you
chair?
as the artist, as an anchor point.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
You could use it as for the client, like if you're doing a hand piece and you want to bring them up, you can rest their hand on it while you're like resting your elbow on it. But essentially, it's designed for the operator or the artist.
No, I get it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm a big fan of that stuff, dude. If you are going to buy one, they're made really well. They have foot supports, lumbar supports, contour cushions. Like, it's got literally everything backed in decades of research. So it's like,
Right.
yeah, the new chair is great, and I'm a proponent. I'm sitting in one right now. I love it. But for talking about things that are backed in research, the dental assistance chair is my number one.
Right on. Thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you for asking, friend. I appreciate you.
Just to add,
sorry
sorry to interrupt you. What was that, Dave?
No, I was gonna say sorry for lagging on my question.
No, that's all good. I was even going to add to that about like the approach that some artists take, and just like they have back problems and then just stand up, like they just never sit down to tattoo again, with like the bed extenders and stuff like that. Do you have any like insight into that research or that effect? I know there was like you had a little bit about like the bed heights for a standing desk, but yeah, I see a good bit of like even artists like peddling like bed extenders and stuff like that. So yeah, what do you think about that approach of like just saying, hey, I'm just not going to sit and tattoo anymore?
I think that it's unrealistic to tattoo standing up forever, all the time. I think that the spice of life is variety. And I know that it's not a one-size-fits-all scenario. It's a combination of sitting, standing, having more than one piece of equipment to sit on, having the right equipment that brings the client high enough, because that's part of the problems. Like, to your point, Forrest, people are standing because they're in pain and they just don't know what to do, right? And a lot of it is because they're not maintaining the muscles and doing the actual targeted stretching that they need to. So they stand up, we twist, we bend. All right, I'm going to smoke a cigarette. I'm going to maybe drink some water, maybe have something to eat, definitely scroll on social media, and then get right back to the tattoo. Right. So it's like having the go-tos. And I kind of talk about that. I do talk about that in my masterclass about redefining your routine to make it realistic. So what do you do when you start to hurt? So I think that number one, if you're going to stand up, that's great. If you're going to use a massage bed, they make extenders. So if you have a massage bed, you can actually purchase an extender that makes your massage bed taller. Really effective, and cost effective. It's really cheap. They're like $100 and something to make a regular tattoo bed taller. So Dave, to your point, that's something you might be interested in.
I've seen people, I've seen people use like furniture risers.
Yeah,
It
these
seems
are
a little
furniture
sketchy.
risers. Yeah, these are designed for massage tables. So they're specifically hard. So I can send it to you actually if you want to hit me up. I don't have it in this slide, but they're like heavy duty hardware that like screws into the existing legs and then it makes a higher. Not one of those like triangled furniture risers. Not that. It's not. They're legit. So that's one thing. But yeah, so like that's part of it, having the right equipment for the job. But like tattooing standing up is good. One of the other things I often recommend are shock absorbing pads to stand on, like they have that you see in the supermarket, people standing at the checkout. Those shock absorbing pads are excellent. If you're a standing tattoo artist and you prefer to stand, well, what are you doing to offload the strain of gravity and your muscles? Well, having this shock absorbing pad is an option, but we have to make sure that they're non-absorbent and they have to be cleared by your local health department, because it's not a one size fits all. Because, like in the tattoo shop, we're not allowed to have rugs. We're not allowed to have like flooring, right? That's a bloodborne pathogen issue. So if we make sure that these pads are completely non-porous and then we clear them with your local health department, it's just got to show them that they're porous basically. And like, they'll give you the go ahead to use them, but they're really effective and not a lot of people use them. So that's like two options: the shock absorbing pad and then the hardware to extend the old school massage tables.
I got a question. What are your thoughts on, like, say, if you were in Japan and you, instead of bringing your client up, you just do it on the floor?
Bloodborne pathogen issues on the floor of a tattoo shop.
No, I get that. I'm saying for like a private studio, scenario, instead of rising the massage table.
I think that it would have to do, I think that in that regard, I've never really kind of put pen to paper for tattooing to the ground, in all honesty. But I think that there could be some benefits to the stability of using your body for anchor points, but I can also see the inability to have the versatility to reposition effectively. So it's a good question. I've really never put thought to it because of like the bloodborne pathogen concern in like the mainstream shop. So I've really never put thought to tattooing closer to the ground because of that. But it's an interesting thought process. Maybe I have to talk more, Dave.
Well, yeah, I have also like a van scenario where like I have a bed in there or whatever. And I've thought about like, if I was just sitting on the ground and, they were maybe armpit level, that would be pretty comfortable for me.
Yeah, that's actually like a term that what you're explaining is basically what I refer to as the client artist height offset. So making sure that your client is higher than you so that you're not coming to the client, or you're not coming to the tattoo. The tattoo is coming to you. So yes, I absolutely agree with the concept that you're talking about, without a doubt. But it's a matter of how do we bring it into play that's practical. But yes,
private studio,
yeah. Nina, what's up? Say again.
Sorry to jump in. I have an issue like that, but I'm really short. I don't want to work on the floor, but I'm really short. So I'm bringing my stools up and then my feet are dangling so that right. So I have to stand up to sometimes accommodate for the girth of my customer if they're lying completely down. So I have to use gravity a lot to make sure that my angle is good.
Yeah.
So I have to stand a lot of times because if I have somebody that, has some weight to them, they have some size there, I have to come up to them. So even if my table is at its shortest and my stool is at its tallest, I'm still dangling to try and get up to that, to meet that customer where I need to be.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part, Nina, like to your point, because we are all sized differently. Our clients are all different shapes and sizes. Our tattoos are all versatile, different shapes and sizes. So arming tattoo artists with the thought process of how to think, how to problem solve, what's the problem, and how do we address it beforehand. So I talk about this thing called organizational ergonomics, cognitive ergonomics, and physical ergonomics. And it's a way to like pre-plan. All right, I know I have this big client coming in with this piece. What equipment might I need? What positions might be best? How can I plan ahead so when this doesn't work out, I have a plan B?
Like drop 100 pounds and lay on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, or like we were saying before, massage tables are not made for tattoo artists. They're made for massages. So like we're already talking about not using the right equipment. And if it's like, all right, we want to get the most out of our equipment at the cheapest price point, that's one angle. But like if we're going to talk about using the wrong equipment and keep trying to fit that square peg in a round hole, we're still going to find more and more issues that keep coming up.
I've been looking into my rheumatologist has a really short bed that's hydraulic. So it has like, it's really close to the ground, like child size or, somebody with arthritis. So they have it. Looking into one of those, I know they're probably going to trump my Tat Soul chair's expense, but probably going to be worth it, I think, going into the future. I do like having the hydraulic, but I think that I'm going to have to get it shorter.
Yeah.
And no one can go for so much longer, man.
Yeah. And what you're talking about specifically, it's called a high-low table. We use it in the therapy community frequently. There's a company actually in British Columbia that makes a pretty affordable one that's very, very good that I can send you, Nina. It's I actually learned about it from a client out in Canada, and it's you're right. Using the right equipment for the right job. And like we're talking about push pedal hydraulic lifts or pneumatic lifts, really. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about $3,000. Yeah, we are. Right. But we're talking about something that's going to save your body and invest in your own career. It's like just spending $1,000 on a new tattoo machine. $3,000 for a piece of equipment is not really that much. And we're buying really quality equipment that's going to last the test of time. So to your point, Nina, I think you know the answer.
Damn it.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's one thing to be starting off in our careers and like trying to just get by, but as we get older and our bodies are no longer as resilient as they used to be when we were younger, as our bodies change, our routine has to change, our equipment needs to change, our lifestyles need to change. And it's like, unfortunately, the shitty truth of getting older is that the only thing that's for sure is change. And the more rigid we are, the harder that process is going to be, right? Oh, Nina, you're awesome. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Dave, thank you for being here. You guys are freaking awesome. Forrest, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you for doing it. I'll definitely hit you up.
Yeah, please do. Absolutely. I'd love to chat with you. Absolutely. It's a pleasure, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jordan. Any last words?
It's an honor to be a part of the rest of your lives, guys. We only have one tattoo career. We might as well make it a good one.
All right, damn right. All right, Jordan, thanks. And we'll be seeing you again soon.
Awesome sauce. Well, take care, guys. Have a great one.